I think people around the world look at the United States at moments like this and they are baffled by Republican opposition to gun control. Can you explain it to us? Why are there this handful of lawmakers who are so opposed to regulation that clearly would save lives?
Well, the fundamental is that it's not just a handful of legislators who are blocking gun control measures. At the state level, more than half of U.S. states are controlled by Republicans, and they are, as your correspondent noted, in states like Texas, rolling back, stripping away the limited gun control we have. At national level in Washington, it is almost all Republican senators, and there are 50 of them in the 100-seat chamber, who have blocked any measures such as background checks, just fundamental background checks on whether someone is fit to carry a gun and should be allowed to carry a gun. Here's the math. Because of the Republican filibuster that blocks legislation, you have to get 10 of the 50 Republicans to join all 50 Democrats to bypass that. Unless you have those 60 votes in the 100-seat Senate, you and I will be talking again and again after each and every mass killing about what is not being done and will not be done in the U.S. to check these murders.
And, we've heard President Biden's frustration in the last couple of hours. He's saying he's really sick and tired of speaking after tragedies like this. But are the president's hands really tied here? Because in theory, at least, he is the most powerful person in the world.
Because of the nature of the U.S. system, President Biden can urge states to do the right thing. He personally can sign executive orders that take certain steps, such as putting regulations on what are called ghost guns, homemade guns. He can instruct the Justice Department to work with states in terms of setting up red flag notices on people who will not be reliable if they purchase a gun. But he cannot do much more than that. The meaningful legislation has to go through Congress. And the cold reality is that the only time in the last 25 years when Congress worked together was in the late 1990s for a short-lived ban on assault rifles. And when that ban ended in 2004, the Republicans held out against any type of measures to try to keep America safe and secure.
And within hours of this attack, the Senate Majority Leader, a Democrat, Chuck Schumer, did move to force votes, probably in the coming days, at least on background checks for gun purchases. Am I right in understanding then that you have really little optimism that any kind of bipartisan agreement will be found, at least on that issue?
What we have seen time and again in the Senate, which is divided 50-50, but which has this rule that you have to have 60 votes to get around a filibuster, is that Republicans will blockade legislation. They blockade legislation on voting rights. They blockaded legislation last week on abortion rights. And they will again, unless 10 senators are brave enough to break away from the Republicans. Unless that happens, they'll blockade any measure, even a limited one, for some background checks for gun control.
Just finally, in 2 days' time in Texas, where this attack took place, the National Rifle Association will hold its annual meeting. Donald Trump will be there. Ted Cruz will be there. The NRA clearly a very powerful institution in all of this. Why does the NRA have so much power, and can anything be done in Washington to regulate it?
The National Rifle Association has a lot of money. It puts out a lot of propaganda on a daily basis, on television, in print media, across the internet. But it is supported by a web of media organizations, most of them on the right, and it is supported by cynical politicians who think this is the way that they gain office and will continue to gain it. So we will see Senator Ted Cruz, who wants to be president there. We'll see Governor Greg Abbott, who wants to rise to Washington, be there. And we'll see Donald Trump, who wants to be president again, to be there. And you know what? 3 days after this mass killing, they will brag about the fact that they are enabling more guns to spread in America rather than less guns.
Professor